I feel the Spirit moving in me. I feel the Spirit moving in me.
Aloha and welcome to Unity Church of Maui's Sunday service. We have the most incredible vacation plan for this year. We're going to be doing a house exchange in Vancouver, Washington, and this house is amazing. It's a beautiful home right on a stream or a river. Oh, it's just absolutely fantastic. We'll be doing some relaxing and not fishing probably, but we will be having a good time doing some hiking, and it's going to be a great time. So we're going to spend 2 weeks there, and then we're going to drive down to Brighton Bush Hot Springs, which is an amazing place, and we'll be hanging out in these beautiful hot tubs made out of rocks that are just so gorgeous, and eating, yes, believe it or not, absolutely fantastic vegetarian food, and of course hiking all over the countryside. It's going to be a marvelous vacation, and this begins 6 weeks from right now. Makes me think, 6 weeks from right now. Will it begin 6 weeks from right now? Will the quarantine that we're experiencing right now be over within 6 weeks? Kind of has some uncertainty about that, yeah? What if it's not over? Or what if we don't want to go to Washington? Or what if the people we're doing the house exchange with don't want to come to Maui? Oh my gosh, we just don't know what the circumstances might be. So how about you? We'll change the subject and ask about you. What are you uncertain about right now? What's happening in your life? Is there some uncertainty with your job or some uncertainty with your finances? And how are you feeling about that? What are you feeling about the situation that our country is in or that the world's in? So I'm titling this talk, Thriving in Uncertainty. It's got me thinking a lot right now about, as we all are, about what's going to happen with the COVID-19 situation. Will it be over with by the end of the summer, by the middle of the summer? Will our economy survive? What's going to happen with our crazy stock market that's been up and down and all over the place? And really, what are the true consequences of this virus? We hear all kinds of things. Are we underprotecting? Are we overprotecting? Are the numbers being blown out of proportion or skewed based upon people's opinions and preferences? We just don't really know. Will the political divide that has been magnified by this virus continue? Or will our politicians come together and finally be able to work together? And then ultimately, is our health at risk? Are people going to die? Are we going to die? Of course, what I really worry about is if I have enough toilet paper, for God's sakes. I think we've got like 47 rolls. Is that going to be enough? Oh, there's so much uncertainty. And what if there's a mass importation of killer rabbits on Maui, and they're eating everything and everybody, and our crops and our houses are all diminished because of these killer rabbits? There's so much to be uncertain about, isn't there? But, humankind in general is anxious and afraid and frustrated and scared. And how will we be affected in the future? What's our life going to be like? What is the new normal as we talk about it? What's that going to look like? Oh man, there's much pain and worry right now, and I just wonder, how is that affecting you, and what are you feeling? I love what Richard Rohr has to say about coping with uncertainty. He says, "Not knowing or uncertainty is a kind of darkness that many people find unbearable. Those who demand certitude out of life will insist on it even if it doesn't fit the facts. Logic and truth have nothing to do with it. If you require certitude, you will surround yourself with your own conclusions and dismiss or ignore any evidence to the contrary. It's so interesting right now because we don't even know what true evidence is. Nobody really knows. This whole situation is unknowable. Uncertainty is problematic. And in some ways, for us, uncertainty isn't problematic. And uncertainty is a funny thing, and we get to deal with it in so many ways. In some ways, we love uncertainty. We love the uncertainty of going to a sporting event and not knowing who's going to win. Or we love watching, I do, The Voice, and who's going to win The Voice, and getting engaged in different people and wanting different people to win. And there's so much uncertainty. And, we're hardwired not to like uncertainty, because human beings fear the unknown. And I think part of the reason why we do that is because we have this perception of control of our lives, and that we can control the way things happen in our lives. And in many instances, we do have control, and we make things happen, and we feel that satisfaction. But the truth is, we cannot completely control our lives. There's always some kind of uncertainty that plays into what's happening in our lives. And it seems to me about the time that we think we have total control, something shows up to show us that despite my good efforts, things happen to show me that I really don't have control. And ultimately there's sickness and there's death that we all have to deal with and let go of at some point. The problem isn't that there's uncertainty in life, because certainly there is, but the problem is we just don't like it. We want to be in control, and the only thing that really is certain is uncertainty. Scientists are saying that our minds are advanced predicting machines. In other words, we like to predict the future. True for you? We like to be able to say, I know that this is what is going to happen in my life. I know that if I do A and B, that C is going to happen. And we feel kind of this false security when we believe that we have control in our lives. And it's kind of interesting that we really are loyal to our limited beliefs. We're comfortable with thinking that we know what's going to happen, that we really don't like being uncertain. And the truth of it is, our minds don't like to rest in uncertainty. In fact, I think that they really can't. When we are uncertain about something, our minds work and work and work to try and figure out how can we make this happen so that I can come to a certain conclusion. The Chinese have a proverb that I like that says, to be uncertain is to be uncomfortable, but to be certain is ridiculous, because ultimately we cannot be certain about everything. I think someone said the only thing we can really be certain about is that there is life and there is death. Yeah. The quality of life that we have is in direct proportion to the amount of uncertainty that we are comfortable with. So if we can really be in the moment and comfortable with whatever is happening and with the uncertain future, then we can rest and be peaceful. But when we are fighting with the future, when we're fighting with what is happening right now, and we engage our fight or flight or fear responses, it's interesting because in essence, we shut ourselves off, or we separate our brain from our heart, yeah? And we totally operate out of the intellect, or out, even more specific, out of our animal instincts. And we are disconnected from our heart. The head and the heart aren't connected. And in the same essence, we're disconnected from our spiritual self when we get into our animalistic consciousness. Uncertainty makes us feel vulnerable. And we try and escape feeling vulnerable in any way that we can, don't we? We're just not brought up in our culture to think or believe that being vulnerable is a good thing. And I'd like to invite you in this same idea to be, to recognize that uncertainty is also uncomfortable. And it's okay to feel that feeling, because it opens up this idea of being vulnerable. When we can acknowledge to ourselves, and I think really to others, that we're feeling uncertain, feeling uncomfortable. And I like what Brené Brown says about that. She says, choosing to be curious is choosing to be vulnerable because it requires us to surrender to uncertainty. It wasn't always a choice. We were born curious, but over time, we learn that curiosity, vulnerability, can lead to hurt. As a result, we turn to self-protecting ideas, choosing uncertainty over curiosity. We choose armor over vulnerability. We choose knowing over learning. Wow, it's like, it's almost like we've forgotten how to be real and how to be present. And so we armor ourselves with this defensiveness, which keeps us from experiencing our truth, our heart, and our spirit. It seems kind of a paradox that through embracing uncertainty that we actually thrive. By embracing uncertainty, we thrive, because that's where we really get connected to our presence, to our spirit. Our lives are dramatically affected by how we act when we are uncertain. Do we put up our armor, or do we go to that vulnerable place and be open to what is, and to experiencing the fullness of who we are, to experience the fullness of life? Many people, and I'm sure people like this, or maybe you're in this way yourself, that you didn't pursue your dreams because you were uncertain of the future. So many people aren't willing to step out and try something powerful, to try something unique, or to do something different, because we're afraid of being vulnerable, or we're afraid of taking a chance, or we're afraid of stepping out into the unknown. It reminds me of Indiana Jones. In one of his movies, he's running from a whole bunch of people, and they're shooting at him, and the odds are hugely in his disfavor. And he runs and runs, and finally he ends up on a cliff, a huge precipice open to this big valley, and this cliff he's standing on. And he's like realizing he can't go back, but the going forward is so frightening and appears like it means jumping off this cliff. And there's a great scene, you might remember, where he puts his foot out, right, and steps. And as he steps, the bridge comes up to meet him. And he takes steps, and he's like amazed. But isn't that the way it is for us? when we take a step into the unknown, the universe comes in and supports us in that which our heart and spirit desires. Wow, I love that. So how do we get into that place? And we have to do that by making peace with uncertainty and just realizing that this is what it is. You know, it takes courage, it takes faith, it takes a desire to step out into the unknown and to know that it can be frightening, it can be scary, but to take that chance, because isn't that what Spirit calls us to do? To step forward into life and take a chance to be the highest possibility that we can be. You know, in order to do that, we need to let go. Most spiritual practices teach us and remind us that there is a power greater than our personality in the universe. It's not a power that's separate from us. It's a power that embraces the essence and the truth of who you are, who we are. It's that presence within us. It's that presence that's in the universe that is calling us forth, calling you forth to be all that you can be. And what we get to do to get to that place is to release the reins of control. It feels scary, does it? To think of letting go and being present, taking a breath, living into this moment right now. Ajahn Shah says it so beautifully. He says, if you let go a little, you will find a little peace. If you let go a lot, you will find a lot of peace. And if you totally let go, you will find total peace. That's what I want. How about you? I find that when I let go of control, when I turn a situation over to that highest presence within me, that highest presence within the universe, when I can totally let go, it all comes together in a perfect way. You know, I tried, this rendition of this talk is the third time I wrote this talk. I wrote it the first time with one idea. I didn't like it. And because it was like I wanted to make it happen. I had this story, and I've used that story before. And I thought, okay, that's it, right? And I couldn't get it together. And then the second story came along, and I tried that. But when I finally settled on this talk and this structure, it's like it all came together for me when I could finally just let it go, to be present to what is and not try and force that which I desire to happen. You know, we've got this great vacation plan. We've planned it for months to go to Washington, to have this house exchange, to go to Brighton Bush. And will it happen? We don't know. I don't know. But I think the beauty and the creativity and the letting go lies in just being present to what is, knowing that whatever is going to happen with our trip is going to be perfect. And we can let go of having to have it be a certain way in order to enjoy it. Franz Kafka tells this story that I love. He goes to this park every day and to sit and enjoy the beauty of this park, and he likes to walk through the park. And on this particular day, he finds this young girl who's crying, and he asks her, what are you crying for? And she says, I lost my doll. And he said, well, where is it? And she says, I don't know. I thought it was right here. And he says, let me help you look for it. And so they look all over and they can't find it. And the little girl has to go. And he says, I'm going to continue to look. And come back tomorrow. And if I found the doll, I'll give it to you. So he's unable to find the doll. And so he composes a letter to the young girl. And when she shows up the next day, he says, I couldn't find your doll, but I have this letter that she wrote. And he reads it to her, and it says, please do not mourn me. I've gone on a trip to see the world. I will write you about my adventures. And this was the beginning of many letters that he composed for this young girl. And every time they met, he would read the letters to her and tell her of imagined adventures that her doll had gone on. And they continued to meet for quite a while. And at some time, Kafka began to get sick. And he realized that this particular day was going to be his last day meeting with her. So he met with her, and he brought her a brand new doll. And he said that the doll had been changed by all of its travels. And the doll certainly looked different. It was a different doll. And he said that the doll had a letter, and he wanted to read it to her. And the letters that Kafka read said, my travels have changed me. Many years later, that when that young girl was an adult, she found a letter hidden in the doll, in a place that she had never looked before. And in summary, it said, everything that you love, you will eventually lose. But in the end, love will return in a different form. Imagine how this story would have been different if the girl didn't want to hear about the doll's adventures. Imagine how the story would have been different if the girl didn't accept the new doll. This story invites us into the uncomfortableness of uncertainty. It invites us to lean into the uncertain feelings, to lean into the uncertainty, and realize that when we're in that place of uncertainty, the love that we cherish will continue to express in ever-changing ways. If we are open to the flow of life, we can embrace the changes that come with living. We can embrace the changes and the way that love grows and evolves in those changes. When we are open to uncertainty, we discover the love within ourselves that is changeless. And we discover our connection with Spirit, that part of Spirit that is always changing. So in essence, we've discovered the changeless and we discover the changing when we are able to let go and accept uncertainty. Uncertainty pushes us out of our comfort zones. It pushes us into that creative place where we can connect with the truth of who we are, where we can live life to the fullest, where we can, experience the newness of that new doll and love our changing, evolving spiritual selves. The more we open to the things that we have resisted, the more freedom we have. The more we can thrive. The more we can grow into our creative nature. And the more we can express our true spiritual essence. Erich Fromm wrote, "Creativity requires the courage to let go of certainties." I am certain that there is no need to fear uncertainty, because certainly the only certainty that there is uncertainty. Certainly nobody has used so many certainties in one sentence. That our affirmation for today is, guided by Spirit, I embrace uncertainty and discover creativity and freedom. Say that with me. Guided by Spirit, I embrace uncertainty and discover creativity and freedom. I invite you to close your eyes. And breathing into this higher self within you, into the divine essence that you are. Breathing into the uncertainty of life. Breathing into the uncertainty that is the essence of Spirit. Always growing, always expanding, always loving. Embracing uncertainty. Letting go. Connecting with the allness that is. Connecting with the truth of who you are. And let's take just a moment or two just to be in this place, in the silence. Breathing in, experiencing the peace, the joy, and the love that is the essence of the creative awareness that desires to express itself as you. Breathing in and breathing out. And I invite you to gently begin to bring your awareness back to this moment, into the new you. Remembering that love is always growing, love is always expanding, love is always expressing perfectly, even in the uncertainty. I invite you to be aware of the light and to open your eyes whenever you're ready. So it is. Namaste. Well, thank you for being here today. Wow, let's see. Where do we go from here? So I invite you to prepare your offerings. We hope that you are touched by our message today and inspired by our message in a way that motivate you to donate to Unity Church of Maui. Because it is through your gifts that you are a part of the work that we do. And I know that that these truths that we teach impact so many people's lives beyond those that we can see and touch. And so thank you for being a part of this work that I hope is your passion. Because I believe that if you are attracted to this truth, it is so because of that creative nature that is desiring to experience you in the fullest way possible. So thank you for your gifts. And so let's hold them and affirm our affirmation of prosperity together, which begins, through a grateful, giving heart, my mind and life overflow with the abundance of God's all-providing, infinite supply. And so it is. Thank you. And you can send us a check the old-fashioned way by making it out to Unity Church of Maui at 483 South High Street in Wailuku. And also by going to our website at www.unityonmaui, and there's a donate box. If you hit that, you'll be given the opportunity to donate to us there as well. So thank you for your donations. They provide us with some of the energy that allows us to continue doing this work. So thank you. All right, I have just a few announcements today. I have an exciting thing happening next week. One of my good friends is going to be here helping me and having a discussion with me. Some of you may remember him and have seen him before. His name is Rabbi Mo. He has been a long-time friend of mine and followed me in my journeys in ministry. And he's an interesting character. He was actually born in Egypt, and he will share with us next week a number of real-time adventures that he had in Egypt. You know, he actually was there for the crossing of the Red Sea and experienced the burning bush. And he's got some phenomenal stories to tell you and to share with you about what really happened during those times. And so the talk that he and I are doing together next week is titled, Who Lit the Burning Bush? And he'll have a good explanation for that. So join us next week right here. And as far as reopening Unity Church, some folks have expressed an interest in that. We're not looking at doing that right now, but we will continue offering our Sunday talks on YouTube and Facebook Live. It's our desire to offer the highest quality and safest Sunday experience that we can, and that seems to be doing it the way we're doing it right now. So thank you for being here and participating in this. We've got a couple of Zoom meetings this week. We have one at 11 o'clock today. And if you'd like to participate in that, you can go to our newsletter, click on the link for 11 o'clock Sunday YouTube, and we'll talk about this service today, and we'll also share what's going on in our lives. It's a great opportunity to be together and to connect with each other. So that's happening at 11 o'clock today. And on Wednesday at noon, Hawaii time, we do our meditation, and I read the daily word, and we spend about 30 minutes in the silence. It's a great way to get connected during the week, so please feel free to do that as well. And if you enjoy our Sunday messages, you can find more of them on our YouTube channel, Unity on Maui YouTube. If you do a Google search for that, you'll find 100 or more messages and music on our YouTube page. So you can get a little jump or excitement or some rejuvenation or some enlightenment wherever you are, whatever you're doing. So please do that. And I think that is about wraps it up for today. So why don't we end together by praying together the prayer for protection. So we'll take a deep breath, breathe in, and let's say it together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. So God bless you, my friend. Namaste and aloha.